Hi, welcome to Her Path, the podcast for busy women looking for purpose, health, and happiness. Today, we are going to touch upon the concept that many of us as women have experienced. Maybe we've never put a term to it, but the concept is called playing small. And you probably can get a gist of what that means just by the term. Um, it kind of means the tendency for us to sometimes hold back, to literally downplay your abilities, downplay your skills, um, self-limit your own potential, self-limit your own ability. And a lot of times we're not even aware that we're doing this, but there are underlying reasons why we at times do play small. And are these good reasons? Are they bad reasons? Like, who really cares? I mean, does it really make a difference? Well, I don't know. I think it depends on the situation. It depends on the scenario, and it depends on your underlying reasons of why you would play small, or kind of diminish yourself, in that situation. I know, like my 7-year-old, if we want to take it literally, my 7-year-old, she loves to act like a baby sometimes, especially at night when it's time to get to bed or to brush her teeth. She wants me to literally put the toothpaste on her toothbrush. And so when it's time for her to go and, brush her teeth, if I haven't prepared her toothbrush for her, she literally throws like a little fit, like, Mom, you didn't get my toothbrush ready. Now I can't brush my teeth. She's perfectly capable of squeezing her own toothpaste on her toothbrush, but every single night it's the same routine. Mom, you didn't put my toothpaste on my toothbrush. And I do indulge her because she is my smallest one. She is my baby.
Your
And
baby.
she is my baby. And I know, the teenagers, I mean, if I did that for them, they would think there was something wrong with me, that I had like a brain tumor or something if I was putting the toothpaste on their toothbrush. Although I think my mother-in-law would still do it for my husband, but don't tell him I said that. But anyway, so I do it for her. And I think it's for us, it's more of like it's her way of getting my attention. I think it's her way of still feeling some kind of closeness. It's maybe
Mhm.
her way, of of still feeling like, like I'm her tender, sweet baby. Um, so that's like one way. But in reality, when us grown, professional, busy women, when we play small, it's more of a way of hiding. It's more a way of, um, I would even put it as a way of people pleasing, kind of not disturbing, not breaking the peace, not standing out. And doing it over and over can really affect the quality of our life, either in our home, at work, or in our relationships, if we're constantly, apologizing for ourselves, if we're constantly, hiding from everyone else, if we're constantly shying away from challenges, or if we're constantly deflecting positive feedback or even compliments. I mean, how many times have you ever been complimenting and someone says to you, "Oh, you look amazing," or "Wow, I love your outfit," and you just kind of like, "Oh, it's nothing," or "Oh, it's something old," or you know, making some kind of excuse when someone's even giving you a positive compliment or some positive feedback. So, why do we do this? Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we try to make ourselves invisible and small in these different scenarios? Um, what do you all think?
I think it's an old program that's running in the background
Hmm.
because I think I grew up with my dad. He had that. He never said it, but he had that air about him, like children should be seen, not heard.
Oh,
And so I think my voice got squelched from a very young age.
hmm.
He was a big energy person, but everyone had to be in bed by 7 o'clock at night, and you couldn't really express yourself. So for me, I think that's where it stems from a lot.
I had the same thing. And this would come from my mom. And it was like we were not allowed to even have an opinion when it came to
Hmm.
anything. When it came
Right.
to the clothes that she bought us, to wear to school, we were ungrateful if we didn't like the way it looked, it didn't fit.
Mm.
If we didn't like if we made a comment about dinner, still we would have to, finish eating it no matter what and not even have any kind of opinion on it.
Right.
Otherwise, we'd be ungrateful.
Yep. Yep.
And then, no kind of ability to have a conversation without it being misinterpreted as being, disrespectful or or being disobedient or even
Mhm.
being challenging. And that was met with discipline.
Right. No,
Right.
I had the same growing up too. Like, yeah, you really didn't speak about much, or you were just very quiet, and I think it affected me.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is something that can get really ingrained deep down into your cortex of your brain to really propagate those self-limiting beliefs, those beliefs of I'm not good enough.
I'm not worth it.
I Yeah, that little voice inside your head. So it comes from somewhere. It's not something that we make up. And I was reading an article somewhere recently where it says like all of the thoughts that you have, you think that you just like bam, they come out of nowhere. But all of the things that you think come from some previous experience, some previous exposure, some previous stimulus that is locked and hidden and kind of cataloged inside your mind
Mhm.
or use if you are ever exposed to similar situation or a similar stimuli, then that past experience, exposure, no matter how brief it was, it comes back to rear its head and taint or influence the experience that you're having. So even a childhood experience of, of not being able to have an opinion or not to be seen and not heard,
Yep.
that
Yeah.
carries with you as a grown-ass person.
And I think when it comes up, it means it's up for healing.
I
When we
like
get
that.
triggered, when we get triggered by
Yeah.
something, it means that it's ready to be let go of.
But we need to identify it because a lot of times we don't identify it as just a thought.
Right.
Because another thing, we are not what we think. I don't
Mm.
know what you all,
We're
that was
not the
something
thoughts.
fascinating. Yes, you're not your thoughts. That was so
Yeah.
fascinating for me to just contemplate that. Like, what aren't you your thoughts? What you think doesn't that make you up as a human being? But
Right.
that is completely false because you think something doesn't mean that that is who you are as an individual. Like I could think something horrendous and horrible in the moment of anger or in the moment of like some kind of emotional, experience. But simply because I think about, chopping my husband in the neck when he's snoring at night because he won't let me sleep doesn't mean that I'm a horrible, horrible person that is capable of violence.
Right. Right.
And so we are not what we think, but having that small moment of like, I'm something that is maybe not necessarily something that's, beneficial for me to continue to be thinking. When you have that ability to kind of identify that self-limiting thought and realize that you are playing small or that you are hiding yourself or that you are trying to make yourself invisible, I think that's like a superpower right there
That's
if you're able
cold.
to
Yep.
identify it. That is so amazing when you're able to get to that point.
Mhm. So I have just been listening and learning from both of you about the power of your upbringing. And my upbringing was quite different. My mom was very progressive and very independent and raised her girls to be strong and independent and to speak our voices and to not live small, and to find your passion and so I think it's so important to remember that everybody's backgrounds are so different and that can aid and abet, right? of
Hmm.
how we live small or don't live small. For me, you know, this is where I spend most of my time with my clients is why are you not showing up, or you want to have a bigger leadership position, or you want to have you're giving your power away, you're living small, and where does it come from? How do we overcome it? How do we take those thoughts and turn them around, right? And what is the mantra in your mind today, and what does it need to be going forward so that you're not living so small, or not no longer giving away your power, or speaking up in the room, or advocating, or whatever it is. But I really can't think of one client that I haven't done this work on. I think it's so pervasive, and whether it's cultural, whether it's part of our past and our upbringing, whether it's societal, whether it's institutional. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I just think it's everywhere. But that ability to stand in your power and to take your space and to live fully. And it doesn't have to be living grand, right? You don't have to be the queen, right? You don't have to be,
Yeah, and it doesn't have to
yeah,
be living aggressively,
right,
where everything has to be a
right,
battle, right? Where
right, right,
everything has to be like 100%
right,
do or die, right?
right. But you're living to the fullest of your potential and your and where you want to be living, how you want to be living, right? It's personal for everybody. Um, I think that that is something that every woman battles with. I have yet to meet someone that hasn't.
I
So,
remember I was about 40 years old and someone said to me, "What do you want?" And I think I looked at them like they had three heads. I was like, "What do I want?" I've never, ever, ever thought of what I wanted,
right,
ever. And I realized that I wasn't alone with that either. I have a lot of clients and I ask them that question. They look at me like I looked at that person, 25 years ago, like, what do you mean, what do I want? It's just now kind of sad when I think about it. I think it's pretty common.
yeah,
And there's not so investigating, figuring out exactly because sometimes not knowing what we want then keeps us small. Because
Yes.
how do we advocate for ourselves? How do we speak up for ourselves? And we kind of feel schizophrenic way, like, I know that I want to grow, or I know that I'm feeling, uncomfortable or stagnated or unsatisfied, but in what way, how do I make that better? How do I
Where do I,
sit in that?
right? Where do I start?
Mhm.
Where do I
Yeah,
even
how do I start?
start?
Where do I go from here?
yeah.
Yeah.
And when you find out that thing, what do you want? When you determine that, it can be terrifying. If you don't have the self-confidence and the self-worth or a support structure around you, when you finally realize what it is, it can it can scare you to death, because now you know what you want. It was almost easier when you didn't know what you want. You just lived
Hmm.
small, but when you finally figure it out, then you have to
Right.
act, and
Because
that's
then
really
what do you fear?
scary.
You fear failing at it,
Right.
right?
And not
And
getting it.
there's a fear of like, well, what if I go for it? Or what if I speak up? Or what if I, make myself seen? And what if I look dumb?
Right. Well,
What if everyone else is smarter?
right. One of my
What if it
favorite
flops?
Yeah, yeah. One of my favorite tactics is to take a client who has just figured out what they want and is terrified of it, and we go down that path. Let's just go to the worst place.
Right,
What happens if you fail?
right,
What happens if you don't get it? And
right,
we go to that place. Close your eyes. Picture it. You went after it. It didn't work. You failed. Where are you? How are you? What do you do now? Because I think part of that fear, it's the fear of the unknown. But if you can take them there, and if you can take yourself there and say, well, what does happen if I fail? It's never as bad as we think.
Right.
And I found that to be such a powerful tool to help clients understand that it isn't the end of the world if you don't get it. So go for it, because you're going to be
right.
okay either way.
I'll give you the example. We had our an example. It's on a smaller scale, but we had our staff Christmas party on last Friday. And, the girls really wanted to do karaoke. So I brought a speaker and a microphone to do karaoke, but why did no one want to get up and sing karaoke? They it was someone's idea. They thought, let's do some karaoke, but nobody dared volunteer to be the first one to start off the party with the karaoke. So there I go. Believe me, I'm not a singer. I'm not, you know, I have a voice and I can read lyrics off of a screen. And so, yeah, went ahead and, did some care. I mean, because I had to coach myself. I'm like, what's the worst thing that can happen? Someone's going to
Right.
video me. They're going to put it on Instagram or Facebook. And, you know, uh, what am I going to lose my career over it? No, it has nothing to do with my abilities as a,
I want to know what you sang. What song was it?
Yeah, what did you sing?
Okay, so I sang a Spanish cumbia that's called the cholesterol song. It's called Se me sube el colesterol, so it's a song in Spanish.
About
And then
cholesterol?
the cholesterol song.
Oh,
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, it's a classic Spanish song, a dance song, which everybody and their grandmother knows. And I had to sing it because I mean it was our, office primary care Christmas party. So I had to sing the
I don't
cholesterol song. And
I don't know, Nancy. I kind of feel like we need to hear a couple lines of this, don't you?
I'm waiting.
Yeah, we're waiting. If you did
I
it for
did
your
the
office
Mariah
party.
Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Oh, I like that.
Oh,
And then another song, I can't remember. Oh, it's another Spanish song called Rata de dos patas. It's a breakup song called Rat on Two Feet.
oh,
Oh, love it.
So, had to get in my previous life, I would never, 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 never have had, had done anything like that because of, what if something bad happens, how
yeah.
embarrassing or, you know, they're not going to respect me as much or they're going to make fun of me. But, kind of identifying those thoughts as a bunch of BS.
Hmm.
Nothing bad's going to happen. You're going to
Mhm.
be fine. And you may have a little fun and you may grow. And deciding to believe that instead has been a game changer in a lot of situations, not just karaoke singing.
Yeah.
I bet there was a ripple effect.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then the girls warmed up and then
Mm.
everyone ended up singing at least one song or at least a duet.
good.
But everyone was terrified of of putting themselves on display in a way
Mm.
that they were uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And we
Funny.
had a good time.
I bet.
When you
But
say I'm not going to let my mind take me down. That brings me to the purposeful thought modeling, right? So where you do a thought download and you write down all the thoughts that you're having and then you evaluate them and you say which ones are serving me well and helping me and which ones are doing me no favors. And those are the ones that we have to practice turning around,
right,
right? And that's a muscle. Again, that's a muscle,
Mhm.
those
something we have to
limiting beliefs.
build.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. But
Right.
that I think is such a
Is
great,
identifying like is this a fact
right?
or is this fiction? Is this something that somehow is in there? It's make believe, but it's really affecting my ability to show up and be the person who I really see myself.
Right. Right. I also think when when our minds take us down these places that make us live small, that in addition to that fact or fiction is almost proactive self-coaching about how do I want to show up? Here's how I am showing up, and that's because of how I was raised or the cultural norms or all those things. But how do I want to? If I had no fear, what would I do differently? And then you're kind of staring fear in the face and saying, I can do better. I'm here.
Yes, and deciding, I agree with you, kind of deciding, what is it that I choose to believe because it's going to really aid me in being that person that I want to be, and it's going to really help me get there versus all of that negative, small and petty uh, thought process that that can be terrifying.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. But if you stare the fear in the
And
face,
so,
you can get through
right,
it.
because when it comes down to it, I feel like that is one of the biggest emotions that that underlies a lot of some more smaller nuance kind of feelings that we may have is that fear of big fear of failure or that big fear of not being accepted or that fear of um you know no one's gonna like me anymore
Right. Right.
or people are gonna figure out that I'm an imposter, that I'm not really as good as as I think I am, or as I appear.
Imposter syndrome, our friend, always popping up.
Well, hopefully this has been kind of an insightful and, you know, interesting way of looking at things. And hopefully we've gotten a little bit of, helpful tools and insight on how to address playing small so that we can move forward and succeed in ways that we never imagined we could succeed. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and until next time.
Hey, one more thing before we leave. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. We are certified professional coaches, but this broadcast is not a substitute for medical or psychological advice. Okay, thanks for listening. See you next week.